Хорошо. Так, здравствуйте.
Good afternoon. Actually, in the Russian translation, certificate transparency, well, they should not have translated certificate transparency into the Russian because that's the name of a project. It's a new way to avoid the man-in-the-middle attack. It's something new that we want to suggest. That's how PKI actually works. A user generates a private key, sends it to one of the certifying centers, gets a public key certificate, and then using that certificate, having received it in the course of communication, the verifier can make sure that this is the person or the internet resource that is, well, that it claims to be. Now, how does this look in practice? This is a typical layout of any application. You have a number of root certificates of trusted certifying centers, and if in the course of making this connection, a certificate is supplied and it is signed by one of the trusted certifying authorities, we will trust that there is a verified resource, and that the resource we connected to actually the resource that we wanted to connect to. The deficiencies of the system are quite obvious. Not all certifying authorities are managed in an equally good fashion, despite all restrictions that apply to them. And when one certifying authority is hacked, the criminals can sign a certificate for any resource, and then they can organize a man-in-the-middle attack. That's when some transit nodes substitutes the actual one, and then this node will talk to the service requested by the user and thus collect all the necessary data. The best known case is the DigiNotar case. It's the Dutch certifying authority. It fell victim to such an attack several years back. This is the map of the world. That's where you can see where fake certificates for Google services were generated. When the case was uncovered, DigiNotar and it had to stop its activity as a certifying center. All its certificates were dumped from all browsers, and this case made the internet community conclude that the current PKI infrastructure does not provide required level of reliability. So the internet community wanted to find an independent source of trust. Now, as to the means to solve this problem, several proposals were made in this respect. On this slide, you can see some of them that have reached the stage of standardization or a stage of plugin. Dane, this solution is based on the DNSSEC infrastructure. There is a DNS entry. You can enter your resource certificate into this entry, and then you can start building the chain of trust to it from all root servers Unfortunately, user equipment, user hardware doesn't support the solution or supports it in very rare cases. Or then there is also certificate pinning. The principle of certificate pinning is, okay, here is a certificate, we'll remember it, we'll see who signed it, and if next time the same certificate comes with a different signature, we will alert the user. This solution exists as a plugin for browsers, but this solution also has certain deficiency. If upon first connect to the resource, you fall victim to the man-in-the-middle attack, then your original record will be the criminal's record, you will remember it, and you will never suspect that something is wrong. And the solution that I'm here to present is called certificate transparency. It was initiated by Ben Laurie, one of the authors of the SSL protocol, and its subsequent development into TLS. As we know, with this project is progressing, and I hope very much that it will gain the support of the internet community. The idea behind certificate transparency is as follows. Well, first we need to start with a number of new instances in the PKI infrastructure. We have the service block. This block must accept the certificate certifying a certain resource and issue a label that was signed by the encryption key of that service, and then the certificate must be included into the services list. And then a customer's software, having received the certificate, checks the presence of the encryption marker. If the marker is present, and if it is a correct one, then the user trusts that the connection is established correctly. Then there are also auditors. They check for the behavior of the log server. They must make sure that there are relevant log entries, and that for various IP, for various clients, log servers produce the same picture. And another instance introduced is the monitoring services or servers that trace certificates with suspicious extensions, the X509. So if a certificate appears for a website which leads to suspicions, this will not go unnoticed. A change in the software will be minimal. If the cryptographic marker is embedded into the certificate, then when it is time to install a new version of the certificate, then Commodore and a number of other certifying authorities that support this project and participate actively will issue a certificate which will already contain this label or this marker. Even today, we have support for Google Chrome browser. If you look at its certificate here, I provide you with a snapshot. It's one of the resources that we engaged for demonstration purposes. Here in this tab describing the connection, you will read that it is publicly auditable. It means that the certificate that was transferred during the connection contains a encryption label, and it can be checked according to one of the logs. Google suggested that extended validation certificates get more rigid requirements, that they are more formalized, meaning that if some certificate is subject to extended validation, then this certificate must contain one or several cryptographic log-signed labels. What else do we have today? We have open source code. There are 2 pilot logs endorsed by Google. And now, very briefly, on the mechanism of the certificate transparency. Once again, it is treatment against man-in-the-middle attacks. We believe that certain certificates are fake and they are not part of the log, and if this is the case, then the user will be warned by the customer software, client software. If it's a regular user, then it will be the browser who notifies the user. And on the other hand, the owner of the resource will be able to review the log service and see which certificates were issued for the resources under its control. As to other threats, like the infamous and a really serious Heartbleed attack, certificate transparency will not be able to protect you because it's a completely different kind of an attack on a totally different level. And one more slide about the way certificate transparency may apply to Russia. We know that in Russia there is the state standard of encryption. It's called GOST, and it is enough to get access to one of the certifying centers or partners of a certifying authority that are included into the record by default. Then you can fake a trusted chain. But if we need to support Russian Ghost, crypto Ghost in the browsers, then it's clear that the vendors of those solutions, if certificate transparency will become popular, then they will have to support it. And that's why we will have to modify the specification for certificate transparency, but these amendments won't be multiple. We'll use the Russian hashing algorithm instead of SHA 256 to protect the information of the log services, and it will be enough to use the Russian cryptography to write the log service key algorithm. So there won't be any difficulties in implementing this project in Russia in accordance with the Russian state standards. Thank you. My name is Zubkov Alexander. I'm from the Moscow State University. As far as I understand, those log services, they act as an external auditor, and if a certification authority is hacked, then the owner of the website, all he can do is check all log services. Well, yes, exactly. Well, we assume that there won't be many log services, like a monopoly. No, like an oligopoly. Right, thank you. Well, this is so much better than when we used to have hundreds of certifying centers. Well, close the ones that you don't need. Well, will you remove those certificates from your browser then? But then there will be a lot of log services. I mean, how can you stop that process? Well, if the criminal can write log services in the log services, if he can enter his log certificates into log services, if the criminals have such access to the user hardware, then this protection will not help. No, I'm saying that right now there are many trusted centers that the browsers recognize today. So what will stop many certifying authorities to appear on stage? Well, I rely on common sense. Right now we have this bad experience with too many trusted authorities in the browser. So you want to... it's like a trusted authority 2.0? No, it's like a meta trusted authority. So thank you for the comment. That was actually an excellent question. We multiply those centers of trust. First, we check the certificate, and then we check the veracity of the certificate. We multiply instances of trust. I don't think I like this idea. And also, why this way? Like Dane, take Dane for instance. Dane shows that trust can come from a more or less trusted source along the chain. Why do you think that your process... I'm sorry, why do you think that your project will succeed? I like Dane's philosophy, but I don't like the fact that during all these years that the project has been underway, it has never been supported by the client software. Well, the reasoning is that DNSSEC is not predominant. Without DNSSEC, Dane is basically useless. But Dane right now doesn't have support in the client's browsers. Our project has at least several organizations that have already endorsed it. They want to promote it. And that's why I believe that this project will succeed more than Dane has succeeded. But I do like Dane. Okay, then a comment from me, if I may, is for the second time during this day that I keep hearing that something like software vendors will have to support this initiative or that initiative, be it IDNs or be it certificate transparency. Well, it's not like they will have to. It's that the software vendors already support it voluntarily and with a lot of gusto. I'm not sure that this is the right kind of policy of pushing the vendors to technologically inferior solutions. Well, it's the most efficient policy. It may not be the most elegant, but it's the most efficient. And this also creates additional workload on the infrastructure. That's what I don't like about this project. There will be an additional workload on the infrastructure because any additional workload doesn't help improve reliability, resilience. Well, it is assumed that the browsers will cache the queries, and yes, we can calculate peak workload. Peak workload will exist if a certificate of a popular resource is replaced, but it is basically, it will be within reasonable limits. What if it will happen on a massive scale, like if it's a very broad implementation? I'm not sure I understand. If this technology is massively used by everyone, like an average user visits 15 to 20 websites a day. Okay, I got you. Thanks. I can't hear you. The microphone is off. No, sorry, we can't hear you. Can we please switch on the microphone over there? Oh, please use the other one. Is my understanding correct that... Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, I can, but could you please speak up a little bit? Sure. Is my understanding correct that when the information is entered into the log server, there will be no manual check? It's done automatically. We'll take data from the certifying center, we'll see that nothing has changed, and we'll tick the box saying that, well, yeah, we believe that the certificate is okay. No, it's not exactly like this. Log server has it works with a number of certifying centers, and that log server accepts the certificates from those certifying centers, and the log server assumes that the certifying center has sent a correct certificate. If someone hacked a certifying center, then this is a problem, but it will be a problem in any case. In case of certificate transparency, faked certificates will be available for public detection. Right, but in the process, when the log server checks the certificate and ticks it as having been checked, it's trusted. There won't be any manual. We will not be verifying that the website corresponds to the owner, to the real owner. Well, this, yeah, I understand, but that's why we need certifying centers. That's their job. The log service will not check that. They will only check that the certificate was issued. But don't you think that the terminology that you selected, publicly auditable, will confuse the user? People who don't understand the mechanism behind the certificate transparency, they will think that, well, okay, public community checked the certificate, and they will think that Yandex is Yandex, and that the certificate was audited by someone to make sure that it corresponds to a service and to the owner, and it's not like it was checked well, to make sure that no one faked the certificate. Auditable is able to be audited. It's not audited. In the Russian, it's not the same as audited, or was audited. It's in the Russian version, we are using slightly different wording. Well, in Russian, there is no confusion. It can be audited. It was not. So you don't think that in the English version you don't need to use more precise wording that will not confuse the users? No, I'm all in favor of accurate and precise wording. But there aren't that many users who will open the second tab in the information window about the certificate and read everything that's written there. But I agree with you that we should probably work on the wording more. And in any case, the wording must be accurate. You're saying that queries can be cached, like in Google Chrome. They switched them off because they thought that CSP switched them off because they thought it created too much latency. Well, actually, there are three possibilities here. I have the slide, and we really ran through that slide. There are three ways of delivering this cryptographic log